Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. This is Tom Emmer, and he's going to talk about Gary Gensler.
You go to a much bigger problem that we're seeing with this administration. Quite frankly, we saw it with the last administration, too. This is not a Republican good, Democrat bad thing. This is just bad bureaucrats that are getting in the way. One of my least favorite is Gary Gensler over at the SEC. That my mother would have said he's so smart, he's stupid. But he knows. Actually, she used that line on me, which is funny. I feel like
I was going to say, my mom is starting to My mom at least shows me the Bitcoin price sometimes. She wears her Total T-shirt quite often, which is pretty cool. But she doesn't yet know who Gary Gensler is. So
no. But look, think about it. He keeps saying things and doing things that are very harmful towards the industry because, Joe, you're talking about entrepreneurs that just want to know what the rules of the road are. They just want to know when they're making decisions that are very lucrative but risky decisions. I mean, to he or she who takes the most risk can get the greatest reward, but you need to be able to measure that risk. You need to be able to plan. What's the pros? What are the cons? These guys are giving so many mixed messages, which appear to be related to a drive or a need for power. Right? The SEC. I'll give you an example. One that drives me nuts with Gary Gensler, and you guys might have seen me refer to it at the hearing, or you've heard him. He has changed the term stable coins to stable value coins when he testified before the Senate Banking Committee and the House Financial Services Committee. Why? Because his bureaucracy, the SEC, has jurisdiction over something called stable value funds. Okay? So they're called stable coins, Gary. We're not that dumb. We know when you change the term to stable value coin, you either don't know what you're talking about or it's very insidious what you're doing because you're trying to expand your authority, the SEC's authority, over something that is totally unrelated to stable value funds. It's that type of thing. It's the stonewalling that he does with industries. You guys know this. You have colleagues that are out there trying to make things happen. You've got Gary Gensler telling exchanges, for instance, to come in and talk to the SEC. Coinbase and other exchanges have tried to do it, and they get the door slammed in their face with threats, investigations, or enforcement actions. I mean, it's crazy what they're doing. But to Joe's point, you got to have an understanding of what the rules are because people want to invest. People want to create opportunities in this country. But if it's not clear what's going to happen if you take a certain step, you're probably going to go to a place that's more friendly.
All right, so Gary Gensler is so smart he's stupid, right? And then on top of it, Gary Gensler is trying to change the term of stable coins to stable value coins. Stable coins don't have a yield, so there's no expectation of profit, so they don't fit the Howey test. But if he's, trying to change the definition of a stable coin to a stable value coin, he's just trying to expand his jurisdiction at the SEC to everything, and Tom Emmer's calling him out.
That's just an American thing that we should be looking at. And to the question, the blockchain caucus, that's what I'm doing. The blockchain caucus was started 7-8 years ago by 3 members in Congress. Talk about the odd couple, Jared Polis, who's the current governor of Colorado, and Mick Mulvaney, of all people, were 2 of the original founders of the Blockchain Caucus. Today, the co-chairs are myself and Darren Soto, a Democrat from Florida, and we have taken what used to be just a handful of members, because, as I said, before August, we were already doing this in the House months ago. It was growing, but now the awareness, we're adding people all the time. We're over 40 members in the Blockchain Caucus, and it's about bringing them in and to the person with a question and then bringing their staff in. Because these young people that actually are drafting policies for the member that they work for, they are every bit as important as the member themselves. So you just got to slowly, and it's literally one person at a time, bring them into the blockchain caucus, educate them, send them out to educate others, and make it clear. This is not a partisan issue. This is a nonpartisan issue.
So the blockchain caucus is Democrat and Republican, and they're expanding. I think he said he started with four members that are now at 40 members, and it's a nonpartisan committee pushing for blockchain standards. And what was interesting is he said that the people that write the laws that work underneath the senators and congressmen, they're joining. So they're the ones that write all the laws, and they're getting a deeper understanding of blockchain tech, and hopefully that'll be beneficial. This is the Turkish president, and he's saying that cryptocurrency laws are on the way to parliament. So the Turkish president says he'll address the crypto business by enacting legislation to promote their lawful use in the country. So he's promoting utility and whatever coins that are lawful to use in Turkey. QNB was a Turkish bank. QNB also partnered with Ripple. Akbank is another Turkish bank that partnered with Ripple, and then there's this bank that integrated with Xcurrent, which is Kuvvet Turk Bank, which is also another Turkish bank. So we're seeing a lot of traction in Turkey, in the Middle East region, and this is looking like it's getting somewhere. And now iTrustCapital has been listed at the 63 best Los Angeles crypto startups, and it was listed at startuppill.com, and they've listed iTrustCapital as one of the startups. So if you're not familiar with iTrust offers crypto IRAs as well as precious metals IRAs, and this will help you with capital gains and capital gains taxes. And if you use a retirement IRA, you can insulate some of your capital gains from taxes. And if you use my link iTrust.capital/Darren, you'll get $100 funding reward. So be sure to research them. Be sure to research IRAs. Now, this is Rosie Rios, and she is going to talk about something that I found pretty interesting.
Weekend, I got the call to be asked should Vice President Biden win in November, to be part of the Treasury transition team again, as I was in 2008. And I said yes. So I am going to do it. I'm thrilled to serve my country. I'm thrilled, again, to be part of this movement to get the economy back on track. And anything I can do to help, I will do it in a heartbeat. I just looking back in 2008 is just like a blur to me, because it was such a stressful period that I have a feeling I'll face that again. But in a way, I'm actually excited. Strangely.
All right, so Rosie Rios was invited to the Treasury transition team. Now, Biden and Harris, transition team members, so they're inviting people to help recover the economy. And what was interesting is Michael Barr, the Ripple board member, was invited to the Department of Treasury. Chris Brummer, which is he's a professor at Georgetown University. He is pretty active in the blockchain community, does interviews. He's very optimistic about crypto and blockchain. So he's an ally for crypto. Rosie Rios, of course. And what was interesting is Gary Gensler is also part of this transition team that Biden and Harris are updating. So this is part of the Build Back Better. And this is Rosie Rios again.
How do you see regulation playing out in crypto?
Yeah, well, I think they're going to have their hands full, right? I mean, there are different parts of the government that do different things. Obviously, there are, the SEC needs to determine, what is considered a virtual currency, or security, et cetera. Certainly, there are, the Department of Justice plays a role, FinCEN, within Treasury's Terrorism and Financial Intelligence Group plays a role. So there's going to be a lot of stakeholders here who hopefully will provide a collective approach. It's not just one and done. There's going to be different elements here. Gary Gensler is our new SEC chair, who I've known forever, is a dear friend, and I think he is the right person to start and continue these conversations.
Okay.
All right, so President Biden has his picks for the transition team. Rosie Rios, that's a dear friend to Gary Gensler, is on this transition team, as well as Michael Barr. Michael Barr was originally picked for the OCC, but they said because of conflicts of interest, he can't be on the OCC since the Ripple board tie. Now, I'm wondering, since that was fresh in the news back then, Ripple being sued by the SEC, if that's going to have any merit with this transition team. So it looks like, this is a group of Democrats that all know each other and respect each other, and, that's good for us. This is the next article. So $770 billion defense bill signed by Biden calls for emerging technology strategy. So it directs the Secretary of Defense to develop a means of incorporating emerging technologies, including distributed ledger technologies, by April 1st, 2022. It also includes distributed ledger technologies under the skills expected of so-called digital talent hires. The bill directs the Secretary of Defense to provide a chief digital recruiting officer with the resources to hire with these skills. So what's interesting about all this is, we often get fed about crypto as just a fad, blah, 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 but $770 billion, and they're pushing for distributed ledger technology, and they're allocating funds, our government. So this is Sheila Warren. Sheila Warren's part of the World Economic Forum, and listen to what she has to say.
The big elephant in the room, kind of making some big moves. I think this year is actually going to be the U.S. I think that we're now seeing a sufficient awareness and understanding of the importance of the crypto industry within various branches of the U.S. government, whether it's out of the administration, the Biden administration, whether it's out of Congress, Senate, or the House. I think we are seeing a lot of understanding of the importance of this sector to the future of the digital economy. And so I do think this will be the year that certain things start to land. Now, policymaking takes a very long time, so I certainly would not predict that 2022 is the year that we see a lot of the policy enacted, but I do think that we're going to see maybe an uptick in kind of the hearings and the activity that's happening within the U.S. government and U.S. regulators focusing on this space. So that's one thing I would say that, I think we kind of already see that trend happening. I also think it's the year that we'll see a little more CBDC activity happening. So whether this is really the year of, dollar coin or the Fed doing something or not, we'll have to see. That experimentation continues to be kind of ongoing, whether it's the EU. I actually do think the EU could lap the US in terms of issuance of digital coins. So that's something keeping an eye on to see what happens there. And of course,
All right, so she's optimistic that the US is going to start regulating crypto, going to start having more meetings about crypto. The other thing that she mentions is the ECB with their digital euro. So what I found interesting is the ECB has already raised interest rates, and I don't think any of these central banks are going to be able to continue tightening. I think at one point the markets collapse and they have to loosen again. And what's interesting about the CBDC is you can go negative with interest rates. So this is just buying them time, and then they can go below zero when they need to. Now, this is the EU Parliament, and they're talking about digital identities. So listen to what Carsten Stocker has to say.
Oh, yeah, thanks you for having me. My name is Carsten Stöcker. I founded a startup called Spherity. And Spherity is a combination of sphere and identity, because the core hypotheses we have in the context of the fourth industrial revolution, so when the digital, physical and biological spheres are bridged by new technologies, that we need an identity system that fulfills basically this requirement to connect human identities, living organisms' identities, with physical identities, with objects, with machines, with autonomous agents, and connect this with identities in the digital sphere. So that's what we basically do. We truly believe we need an interoperable system that can connect all these identities. We don't need a silo system, identities for vehicles, identities for people living in Portugal, identities for objects in a fast-moving consumer goods supply chain. So with fourth industrial revolution, when all the technologies are blended together, then we need a pretty interoperable identity system. And probably also worth to say, so from a scaling perspective, fourth industrial revolution perspective, it's really valuable to look into what the Chinese are doing. The Chinese are pouring triple-digit billion dollar into all kind of fourth industrial revolution technologies. There's just one Chinese conglomerate who is building a smart city for $32 billion US. And I think that's a culture and the mindset topic. So we are asking for business cases and for a little bit of tiny things. And the Chinese business case is Chinese supremacy, and it's a global competition we are in. I will come back to this a bit later. But anyway, super valuable for Industry 4.0. And of course, what can be done in Industry 4.0 can also be done for humans. And that's a little bit the perspective we have here. So before I close, I think it's a big myth when it comes to blockchain identity that we have all the sandboxes and regulatory kind of clarity in place. There are a lot of use cases that can be done into today's existing market designs, into existing regulatory frameworks. So it's not about crying like, I need to do this, the regulators and the policymakers. A lot of stuff can be done today. In terms of kind of taking on the competition with the Chinese are doing large-scale field tests. I think we also have to go in the same direction to have a little bit more dual mode of operations approach, like existing systems in parallel, distributed systems, field testing it, scaling it to build the technology competencies here to compete with Chinese supremacy in the near future. And also the US, and that's where I want to really close, because the US is pushing standards like hell. So in the World Wide Web W3C consortium, they're pushing the standards, and you mentioned them, verifiable claims, decentralized identities, the semantic webs. They are pushing the standards. And when I look in this ecosystem, I don't see so much push from European player here and there. There are some, but it's a brute force in the US. So we have to take on the competition with the Chinese in terms of their risk appetite to scale and build technologies for supremacy, and also with Americans that try to standardize everything else for the future of the internet. And it's pretty competitive. And here in Europe, we have to co-create, to collaborate, to cooperate among each other to stay competitive.
All right, so the W3 standards is being pushed by the United States. We know Ripple and Ledger are part of the interoperability standards with W3, as well as streaming payments. He addresses the tech Cold War with China, and it's interesting that he's saying that the U.S. is pushing these standards. So we're hearing one thing about the U.S., dragging their feet, not regulating, doing all this stuff, but we're actually ahead of the game with standards, and he uses the term brute force standards. And then in the beginning, he's talking about digital identity and the fourth industrial revolution, which is a convergence of technologies, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, etc., converging with what's happening. So he's part of the World Economic Forum. He's working specifically on the digital identity platform. He's using a decentralized platform for the fourth industrial revolution, providing secure identities and digital twin bridging the physical, biological, and digital spheres. So I found that interesting. The World Economic Forum does post a lot of things about crypto. Officially, they're supposed to just help governments set standards, right? And that's what the World Economic Forum is supposed to be doing. So, there's Ripple's partnered with the World Economic Forum, LCX is partnered with the World Economic Forum, and IONEX is partnered with the World Economic Forum. And officially, they're supposed to be pushing for the standards of this tech, but the vision that Klaus Schwab sees is the fourth industrial revolution, where all the technologies merge into one. So this is an older article, The Internet of Things and the Future Payment System. This is 2016, but this quote was pretty interesting to me. the IoT, the Internet of Things, cannot be fully realized unless the limitation of today's payment networks are addressed. So if the whole goal is a convergence of technologies, the payment systems need to be updated, and that's some of the speeches that David Schwartz has addressed this as well. And I think we're seeing that push for real-time payments and central bank digital currencies, and Ripple is a part of the Faster Payments Task Force. Craig DeWitt's now the vice president of the Faster Payments Task Force. We're moving in that direction, and it sure looks like Ripple has a say in everything. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any comments or suggestions, please post them down below. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. If you're not getting notifications, you can unsubscribe and resubscribe. But everyone, I hope you guys have a good day. Thanks for watching.